The next lesson is called the pelvic clock. So go ahead and join me either from bed or lying on a rug or carpet and lay down. Make yourself comfortable.
You could optionally grab a couple of pillows to place under your knees at the very start and at the very end of this lesson. So you could pause this video until you're all set up. And we'll begin with a brief body scan to notice if you're tensing or holding on anywhere in your body. And if you are, then simply invite that area to let go. Invite your breath to come to any region that you feel tightness. And notice what parts of your low back are making contact with the ground. Is the right side lower or the left side? With each breath, feel if your breath brings your low back slightly, ever so subtly, closer to the ground and away. With Feldenkrais, we want to notice the subtle differences. How about the mid-back? The upper back? Okay, and let's go ahead and begin the lesson. We'll begin with our knees bent and our feet and our knees about a hip's width apart, if not slightly wider. Make sure your toes are soft and your feet and toes are in full contact with the ground. So we're going to focus on the pelvis. And I want you to imagine that there's an imaginary clock face, the round circular clocks underneath you, where 12 o'clock would be the top and 6 o'clock would be pointed away from you. So 12 o'clock the top and 6 o'clock away. Now on your left side would be the 3 o'clock, right where your left hand is lying. And on your right side would be the 9 o'clock. So just imagine the 12, 3, 6, 9 lying beneath your pelvis. And we're going to start with a pelvic tilt, but in Feldenkrais, a pelvic tilt is ever so soft and effortless. So I want you to think about where the 12 o'clock is at the top. And let's ever so slightly, with the help of your feet, roll your pelvic bowl backwards so that your low back flattens towards the ground. And then release it. And as you release it, you might notice your tailbone points in the direction of the 6 o'clock or in the direction of your toes. So we're going to go back and forth between the 12 o'clock and the 6 o'clock. Now, as you're doing this, are you halting your breath? And if so, let that go. Try to make your breathing rhythmic with the flow of each of the movements. Rolling up slowly and releasing back down slowly. Nothing being held. Your jaw is soft and relaxed. And as you roll up, you'll feel your low and mid back go closer towards the floor. And as you release, you exhale. Make sure your toes are not gripping the floor. Your toes are completely soft. Your toes aren't working in the least. You want to do this in a way that you could do it for an hour without getting tired. Do one more and then take a rest. And the rests allow us to integrate the changes and to draw our awareness from the outer world inside ourselves. I think the camera may look like I'm switching my left and right, but this is my left side. So what I want you to do is think about rolling your pelvis from the very center where it is, slightly towards the 3 o'clock. So if you want to put your hand underneath where the 3 o'clock would be, and think about just putting a little bit more weight towards the 3 o'clock or towards where your palm is. And do this in a very subtle, effortless roll in a way that you're just off weighting the right side of the pelvis and rolling it towards the left. Go nice and slow, nice and soft, ever so subtly, going from the center of the clock to the left. Make it rhythmic, flowing, smooth without halting your breath. If you feel the muscle clenching, you're working against yourself. You're teaching yourself an unhealthy habit, which what we're doing here in Feldenkrais is we're unraveling the unhealthy patterns and habits. And then let it go. Take a pause. Okay. Now remember where the 12 o'clock is, like behind your belly button or a little bit lower. And I want you to roll up towards the 12 o'clock once again. And then let it go. And now roll to the 3 o'clock. Now see if you could do that without working any of these hip muscles on the opposite side. The 12 o'clock. Exhale, release. And 3 o'clock. Okay, come back to the center. And as you're resting here, notice which arm feels longer. Is there any difference in how the length of your left arm is from your right, if one arm feels longer? And maybe if one part of your low back feels closer to the ground, your right versus your left. So now I want you in your mind's eye, just in your imagination, to imagine drawing a line, like rolling your pelvis towards the 1 o'clock, and then to the 2 o'clock, and then to the 3 o'clock. So just imagine it first. And then when you're ready, we'll start from the 12 and go all the way to the 3 o'clock. So go ahead and roll your pelvis up to the 12 o'clock. Exhale, release. Go to the 1 o'clock without working your hip or your knee on the other side. 2 o'clock, making it soft, easy, effortless. And then 3 o'clock. Okay, let that go. Take a rest. And just take a pause. Deep breath. Now, if you feel like you're gripping or you're working or if it's hurting, you could do this just in your imagination. Just in your imagination is enough to reshape your brain map, your motor cortex. So now we're going to go from 3 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 1 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So very gently follow me as we roll our pelvis towards the 3 o'clock. Release. The 2 o'clock. Release. The 1 o'clock. Release. And the 12 o'clock. Release. Now pause and ask yourself, how easy or effortless was that? And is there any way to make it even easier? We'll go 12 to 3 now. See if you could go lighter with less effort. Here we go. Push the 12 o'clock, the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, without working any of these inner thigh muscles. That's the goal. 3 o'clock, and let it go. If you feel like you could straighten your legs, feel free to do that, or feel free to straighten your legs with a pillow underneath. Now just tune in if one arm feels longer than the other. And you could just assess if one leg feels longer than the other. It's very common to feel leg length discrepancies. And so this is a lesson that can completely shift what leg is or what leg you perceive to be longer. Now, just take a moment to imagine where 1 to 6 is, where all the numbers are. And then when you're ready, we're going to go one by one, seeing the precision and the quality going from the center of the clock one by one to each of the numbers. So here we go. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Try not to work your inner thighs, remember, keeping your knees more or less pointed towards the ceiling. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and now we're going to go backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then to 12. And take a pause, take a complete rest. But as you're lying here, notice if one side of your pelvis feels heavier into the earth, heavier into the ground. Compare the difference of the right low back to the left low back. I know after my hip replacement, my low back on the involved side really felt arched and raised off the ground. So just notice which side of your low back feels heavier or lower towards the ground. How about your mid back? If you're relying on a balance beam, would you be more likely to fall onto the left side or to fall onto the right side? And interestingly, even though we didn't work our shoulder or our arms, feel if there's a difference in the length of your left arm versus your right. Feel if one shoulder blade feels deeper into the earth, into the ground than the other. If one shoulder feels lifted more than the other. And whichever shoulder feels heavier into the ground, go ahead and push that shoulder just a few times, the shoulder blade just even a few more times towards the floor without halting your breath. One last time and then take a rest. Notice which way your nose is pointed. I know my nose is completely turned in the direction we just worked. Notice which way your eyes are veering. You could even open your eyes and notice which way your eyes are veering. So it's opened up the whole peripheral vision on the side that we just worked. It's quite amazing. Like if you just open your eyes looking up towards the ceiling, notice if you're more aware of what's on the side you just worked versus the other. By the way, if you got up and stood, you might even feel more stability on this side just from these mini micro movements. So now let's balance you out. Let's do the other side. So we're going to start with the 12 to 9. So we're going to go 12, 11, 10, 9. Take a moment and just imagine that. 12 o'clock, 11, 10, and we're going to keep going. 9, and next we're going to go to the 8. It's a little bit more out of our awareness to go to these areas, so go slower. 7 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and then we're going to go back the other way. Let's find the 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock, feel free to use your hand on your inner thigh for feedback. 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. 12 o'clock, beautiful, take a rest.
Now, for most people, it's the 6 o'clock to the 9 o'clock region that is the most out of their awareness. So we'll focus on that area now. But before we begin, just go ahead and think through the motions to each number. So just think about moving your pelvis to the 6 o'clock, and then release, and then to the 7 o'clock, and then to the 8 o'clock, and then to the 9 o'clock, and then back to the 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and pause. And now let's go ahead and actually do the motion, moving nice and slowly to the 6 o'clock, rolling your pelvis down, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then to the 9 o'clock. Now just pause here for a moment and ask yourself, how much work or effort did you do to move your pelvis to all of these numbers? Did you do any extra work around your belly? Did you torque your back at all to make it happen? Or work your inner thighs or your toes? So see if you could do a little bit less effort as we go backwards. Go ahead and start to the 9 o'clock, release, 8 o'clock, release, 7, and 6 o'clock, and pause. Take a breath. And we're going to do that one more time. See if you can make the movements even clearer, even more coordinated. So starting with the 6 o'clock, go ahead and roll your pelvis down, your back arches slightly. The 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then we'll go back to the 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and pause. Take a complete rest.
And as you rest, notice if your arms feel more even or if there's any difference in the length of your arms. How about in how your shoulders are lying? Or any other differences you may find. Now, as you could probably guess, we're going to go all the way around the clock, once in each direction, and then we'll call it a day. So we'll start clockwise once, and then we'll go counterclockwise. When you're ready, let's start with the 12 o'clock very gently with the help of the soles of our feet, rolling towards the 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Try not to work any of these inner thigh muscles. Go less, go less. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and pause. Make sure your breathing is the same when you're resting as when you're doing the motion. And when you're ready, get ready to go the opposite way. Get ready to go counterclockwise. Here we go. 12 o'clock, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12, and pause. Let your pelvis go. We're going to end just by doing a few 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock movements, rolling your pelvis towards the 12 o'clock and then back towards the 6 o'clock. Rolling your tailbone up towards the 12 o'clock, and then your back arches slightly as you point your tailbone down towards the 6 o'clock. Back and forth. You might feel your head ever so subtly moving in the direction saying yes. As you roll your pelvis down, it's the down part of the yes. And as you roll your pelvis up, it's the up part of the yes. Now, as you're doing this, are you halting your breath? Make sure you're not halting or holding anywhere in your chest or your throat. One more time. Okay, let it go. Take a pause. Come back to a moment of body awareness. If you feel like you could straighten your legs, feel free to do that, or feel free to straighten your legs with a pillow underneath. Noticing how your low back is making contact with the ground. Notice how your middle back is making contact with the ground. Notice if there's any more openness in your shoulders. As you open your eyes and look towards the ceiling, notice if the peripheral vision on both sides has opened. You could place your hands on the sides and just see if you could see your hands on both sides. And we'll end the lesson here. Come up on your own time whenever you are ready. And have a great day.